We're excited to have y'all. Ready to talk some food?
Yeah, thanks for having us, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, of course. Well, why don't y'all introduce yourselves, and we'll go from there.
Sure. My name is Min Choe. I am the co-founder and CEO of Tso Chinese Delivery. I've been here in Austin for about 36 years and counting, and we're really excited to introduce a new generation of Chinese food delivery, not only to Austin, but all of Texas and all of America eventually.
Love it. Love it.
My name's Angell Tsang. I'm the CTO and co-founder of Tso Chinese Delivery. Long history in tech startups, and this is my first foray into the food industry, so it's pretty interesting.
For sure, food is a different animal. No pun intended, right? It really is.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, guys. Well, thank you all so much, for joining us today. I do have some questions, and hopefully we can just look. I don't really do interviews. I always say that on the podcast. We just have conversations. So we're just gonna, relax and talk a little bit, and hopefully give the listeners something worth listening to. Right? Like that's really all it is. First of all, let's start with the correct. You said it, the correct pronunciation of the business, because I'm sure people mispronounce it like crazy all the time. Right? That's like a common. I would imagine.
Yeah, we get Tso a lot and cow a lot. We say so, which is it pays homage to General Tso chicken, or General Tso in general. He's a strong character in the history. He's a real person, and the number one Chinese food entree or dish out there is General Tso chicken, and so it's a little homage to him and to the cuisine and to that particular entree.
Because that's like a crazy story, right? Of like how that dish got started, and it's not even really Chinese, right? I mean, it was created. I mean, do you know the story? Yeah. You're kind of shaking your head. You tell us. You tell it. There's a lot of myths, urban myths out there about this particular dish.
I'll let Angell take this one. He's well in depth with knowledge of the history of Chinese food.
If you want to talk about Chinese food in general, majority of the dishes that you see in Chinese food today were invented here in the United States. Cashew chicken, orange chicken. With General Tso, you can trace its roots all the way back to Taiwan. That's where it really started, with a chef named C.K. Peng. And I believe it was in the 70s. Is that right, Min?
When it came to New York?
Yeah. He eventually took it to New York City, or some of his, it became very popular in Taiwan. And some of the chefs in Taiwan took it to New York City.
Interesting.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to him.
Oh, okay. So he was still back in Taiwan, and some other chefs.
It was popularized in Taiwan.
I see. I see. Interesting.
That sweet, sticky, orange, acidic sauce is kind of like a Taiwanese thing.
Okay.
And it mutated over time. It transformed over time. But, when other chefs loved it and eventually brought it into New York City, they popularized it in New York City, unbeknownst to Chef C.K. Peng.
Sorry, my dog's here.
And then spread like wildfire, through the 70s, 80s. And then, around that time, like other similar dishes like sesame chicken, orange chicken, those were invented in New York City as well.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. So if somebody that is kind of crazy, how close is it to what's out right now, how close is it to what was in New York City in the 70s? Or has it transformed from even then to now?
Well, I think when you're discussing Chinese food, oftentimes if you're talking to an American, they're thinking about it in the lens of Chinese American.
Yeah, that's true.
The American view. So like I said, a lot of dishes were invented in America, so it couldn't, like, Chinese food, according to Americans, couldn't be more American.
Yeah,
it's deeply embedded into the culture of America.
Sure.
But that being said, Chinese food takes different shapes and forms all over the world. For example, if you ever talk to someone from Peru, actually a lot of Peruvian dishes are heavily influenced by Chinese food. And so there's a very, very strong Peruvian Chinese scene. I would say that the British Chinese scene is heavily influenced by Hong Kong, and if you go to UK, there's a lot of dishes that are totally different there.
Yeah, 100%.
And so yeah, the translation from Taiwan to New York City, I think originally it didn't have broccoli because American broccoli is not typically eaten in Asia. But then American broccoli was added because that's the produce.
It was here.
The available produce. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what Chinese food is like the story of immigrants coming to America, wanting that familiarity of what they remembered, but then only having access to the ingredients that you have in the groceries, the local grocers. So
that seems like a story from, a lot of immigrant cultures, whatever type of food it may be, right? They're trying to bring something familiar, but they've got to look around at what they have and sort of make it work. And then bam, you've got this fusion of sorts, something new. That's cool.
It's a beautiful story of the roots of, immigrants in America.
Sure.
And it's a story of survival in some ways, right? To
100%.
try and make it
100%. And keep a piece of home with you, because food is home, right? Food is such a home thing. My mom's from Mexico, so she was always trying to do that, right? In our house, always trying to maintain some sort of semblance of the culture, and so that we didn't lose it. And we were always going to Mexico. Mm-hmm. My brother and I, we were always delved into the thing. But anytime we made Mexican food in America, it's not the same, right? it's just not going to be the same, but it's as close as you can get, which is where what Tex Mex and all that stuff comes from, right? What people think of as Mexican food is not Mexican food at all. So it's sort of the same. I'm seeing some similarities, right, to that sort of story, which I love. And speaking of like UK, Chinese food, like when I lived in Spain, that's very big there, actually, going to buffets, really, these Chinese buffets that they have everywhere, because there's actually not a lot of different type of food in Spain. It's not like, if you're in London, you can just get anything. I mean, it's not really like that in Spain, too much. So that was the one other thing besides Spanish food you could get. And it was so different from what I was used to eating here in the States, right? Getting quote unquote Chinese food and then getting it there and having an experience. Right. Honestly, they even have, it felt more personal over there, to be frank with you, in some ways.
As a second generation immigrant, or children of first gen immigrants, the story of the food is the story of our families.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Exactly. And we'll be telling our grandchildren about, why the food tastes and looks the way it does.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we were the second generation to see.
And learning those recipes. Right. That's important. I don't think kids are learning the recipes from grandma and from aunt, whoever, and right. And uncle this and right. Like you've
Yeah.
got to learn those recipes as well. I think is important. That gets lost.
Yeah. One of my bucket lists to do is like travel the world and eat Chinese food from different countries.
Love that. I would
Yeah.
love to
Like,
do that with Mexican food too.
yeah. There's a really strong Indian Chinese
Sure.
cuisine. Like here in Austin, there's a restaurant called Masala Wok, which is basically
Ooh, I never heard of that.
Indian Chinese food for Americans. So it's like a three-way culture thing where it's
Yeah.
Chinese food that transformed in India, and then they took that and put it in America. And there's some wonderful, wonderful Korean Chinese dishes out there that it's Chinese food that's mutated in Korea, and they're now Korean, but they originated from China. They're delicious. Yeah,
I'm all about that. I'm all about the mixing of different foods. I know that's sort of a current topic actually right now, and there was actually an article that came out about appropriating food, right? Appropriating food from another culture and staying in your lane, if you will. And I think I'd be curious, to hear y'all's opinion on this because, I have a lot of friends who are chefs and from different backgrounds, Indian, Korean, Mexican, American, right? Just whatever. Everybody honestly says the same thing. Like, dude, people just cook what you want. Just make what food you want. If it tastes good, that's what it is. Respecting what you're taking is, the key to any good chef. That has nothing to do with the food. It's the person handling it, right? And just respecting what it is, but making some changes. Nothing wrong with that. And maybe it's not exactly the way the dish was, so now you're appropriating it. But just like we talked about, sometimes the ingredients just aren't available, and you've got to make a switch here or there to substitute and just be creative. Whatever happened to just being creative? So I think more chefs need to speak out on this and start telling people. I don't know. That's my opinion. Of course, every chef can have their own opinion in person, but I'm curious. What do y'all think about that? Cooking like that.
Well, I'm not a chef, but I've lived in Austin for a long time, and I'm Korean American, but we've been cooking Chinese food for going on 16 years now. And, first of all, I don't know when cultural appropriation became a bad word. I don't understand why it conveys negativity.
Yeah.
We travel the world because we want to learn about other cultures and appreciate. Cuisine is usually at the top of that list because cuisine is usually the way you learn and appreciate other cultures. One of the things that we like to say is that yes, most of the food that we sell is Chinese American, and it's quote unquote Americanized, but there isn't really anything inauthentic about that. In fact, we like to say that we are authentically Chinese American. And so really it's a blending of various cultures and, foods that may have come from Arizona or the West Coast or the Northeast, New England, wherever. And then you make it as good as you possibly can. And, even here in Austin, our General Tso chicken is going to be different from, Wu Chao's General Tso chicken or Din Ho's General Tso chicken, or any other General Tso chicken here in Austin. There are varieties of General Tso chicken. And I don't think there's any one person that can say what is right or what's wrong. You're just going to have a preference. And, I happen to love our General Tso chicken, and that's the way it is, right? So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing inauthentic about saying, we've evolved our food to not only is it the country that we live in or the city we live in or the neighborhood we live in, but you also have to consider the time that we live in too. And, things evolve for a reason. And so we're very proud of our food. We like to think we do things the right way with our food, and so, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Angel, any comments on that particular topic?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of sick of the whole foodie snobby,
Thank you for saying it.
Authentic.
Yes. Thank you for saying it.
Way of like, well, I can't eat that because it's not authentic. And to me, that is a very closed-minded way of looking at things. I think it's not an either or proposition. I think there's a place. I love like traditional mainland Chinese dishes that you otherwise find difficult to find here in Austin. I absolutely love it. But there's a place in my heart also for, chicken lo mein or a veggie egg roll or a crab rangoon. And I can love both. And I think there's far too much polarization when it comes to like types of cuisines. And I think that we could all be a little bit more open-minded about Americanized food, I guess, in some ways. I think Americanized food gets bad rap. It's got a negative connotation to it because it's inauthentic. But I think we need to embrace our American heritage. Like the Chinese culture has been around since the mid 1800s in America. And so this is like when you're eating Chinese food, that stands for a legacy of at least 170 years of restaurateurs and entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
That's what that story stands for when you eat Chinese food. And so when you embrace or understand the history of where this comes from, then it gives you so much more meaning. And it's more than just Panda Express airport food, right? It actually comes from a really, really long history. And once you appreciate that, I think it actually ends up tasting better.
Wow. That's great. I love that. Yeah, great. Great. I agree with both of y'all. Y'all make some really great points. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this because again, it's something that's sort of creeping out into the world, and it limits food, it limits restaurateurs, it limits chefs, it just nothing but limits and closes doors that you could otherwise go through. And you never know what the next chef is going to create. And if we're telling them, well, you can't do this, this, and this, and this, and if you do this, you have to do it this way and only this way, and that's it. And let's say for someone who is an immigrant who's here, who they're like, nope, you can only cook immigrant food. You can only cook your food from your country traditionally. That's it. Don't step out and cook something else that you liked and wanted to fuse with your dish. And again, it just for me comes down to limiting and taking away from the history. Right. And learning about that. And like you guys said, it is about traveling around and learning these things. We do travel to go eat in other places. And America is actually a great place to get food from, try some other, food from other cultures. And you can get pretty close to traditional and then up and down the ladder from there. And like you said, it all has its own place. And, as long as they're respecting the food and serving you something good, for me, I don't really care what you're doing. I don't think there's any appropriation, happening there.
What's really interesting is that right now in China, there's a big craze for Americanized Chinese food because it's not found in their regular restaurants, right?
Yeah.
So like new, they're like, right? Oh my God, what is this amazing food? This is so much better than what we're eating every day.
I love that. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean,
they don't have that built-in bias, right?
Yeah,
they weren't trained to hate it. Sure. And so for them, it's new, and if it's new but it's delicious, who cares? Who cares? Exactly. Yeah. It's delicious.
Yeah, it's delicious. Hello, we should stop there. It's delicious. End of conversation. Yeah. Why are we even? Yeah, that is just. Yeah, it does. It does definitely blows my mind as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this again because it's something that's come up and I just don't understand it. Yeah, it's not authentic. I can't eat this. I slap people when they say that. Like, what are you talking about? First of all, what is authentic? What does that even mean? You don't even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? It's not authentic. It can never be authentic. We are here on this particular, block. Like there's no way to get the same anything. So of course it's, going to be a little bit different, but yeah, no.
I think what authenticity really is for food, or where authenticity has its place, is in the love of making that food, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think you can judge food by its intention. So if the intention is to just make a ton of money, then yeah, I think we can judge food by that.
Sure.
Versus people who actually care about the craft of food, who care about sustainability, who care about the customer's experience, who care about the ingredients, the sourcing of the ingredients.
Yeah.
That's where the love is, and to me, that's where authenticity has its place.
Absolutely. Respecting, the process and what's going on, right? It's
exactly.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. It is funny when, if you're out of America, right, and feel, American food sucks, right? You hear you guys eat like shit in America. They eat shitty food in America, right? It's well, what is American food, right? What does that mean? It's like saying, what does an American look like? I mean, hello. It's become something you can't just put in a box. I mean, what's American food? There's so much. What history? What are we getting into? What are we talking about?
Yeah, guess what? Hot dogs are German and pizza is Italian.
Yeah, pizza. Yeah.
Hamburgers are from Hamburg. So, do you want to talk about Native American diets? Because at that point, it's a silly conversation, right?
It is. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense, and it's the same for any country you're in. If you're trying to define it into one thing, it doesn't matter what country that you can't. There's so much more to, what it is, and just particularly how different people eat. Right. It's like we're not all the same. So it's you can't you just can't get it stamped that way. So, yeah, but I'm glad you guys are out here, doing this, representing, serving good food. The reviews are amazing. You guys have online, for real. Like the love is out there, man. You guys are doing phenomenal stuff. The pictures are like just mouth watering, to be frank with you. That's great. You guys are, and something I noticed is that it's more delivery focused, right, than having, which is, people, I guess, I'm going to talk pre-pandemic here. Pre-pandemic, that wasn't necessarily a focus for everybody. Delivery was, we'll do it because people are doing it, and these customers want that convenience of these certain apps. So let's, have 17 tablets on the counter now to, for every freaking app thing that there is. But now that the pandemic is hit, I can definitely see people changing course maybe a little bit more. But you guys, before that's happening, y'all's focus is delivery and staying in that. I'm curious why, and yeah, we'll just kind of go from there and see what happens.
I think my introduction into the restaurant world was, back in 06, 07. And we sort of accidentally stumbled into it. My wife, it was pre-kids. My wife didn't have a whole lot to do at the time. And we decided to open up a Chinese restaurant in our neighborhood. And, I had been involved in other businesses at the time, but there's something extremely rewarding about feeding people. And, when you sell food and people come back and tell you how much they enjoyed it, or you see repeat customers, it's very fulfilling and it's rewarding, right? And so over the years, we had done multiple concepts. I fell in love with the restaurant business as an entrepreneur. And I knew that there was a future in the restaurant world for me and my wife and our family. Well, what I also discovered during the process is that the restaurant industry it's fucked up. There's so many inefficiencies, and there are so many bottlenecks, and there are just lots of problems. And at this point, we had become quote unquote experts in the Chinese food industry. And so we knew how to cook the food. But we were slaves to the industry norms. So, there's a bad stigma that comes around with Chinese food, greasy hangover food. And we're like, why do we have to fall into that trap? There was a problem with the staffing of the service industry, the outrageous rents of these huge buildings. Restaurants in general, they're spending 70 to 80% of their rent expense on dining space that only gets utilized pre-pandemic, only gets utilized 20 or 30% of the time. So the math just doesn't make sense there. Like, why are you spending so much money in these areas that heavily impact your bottom line? Your average successful restaurant is going to make 10% profits. So for every $100 they sell, they're hoping to make $10.
If
right?
if that, right? If that.
If that. I said, and I preface that by saying your average successful restaurant.
Yeah.
That, right.
I always say breaking even in the restaurant industry is a success.
I know. Yeah. And so there's something wrong with the industry in that sense. And we were fortunate that our experience was in the Chinese food world. And what I mean by that is we know, Chinese food is already extremely, extremely popular in America. Over 80% of Americans have had Chinese food. And yet over 80% of the Chinese food restaurants in the country are mom and pops, right? So they're, Miss Angie Lee with her husband, who has a small corner Hunan something, right, that just feeds their little neighborhood. And the only reason why they have that restaurant is because they have children and they're trying to put those kids to school so that they become successful lawyers or attorneys or whatever it is. They're not looking to hand these restaurants down to their kiddos. Well, there's no one doing fast food like in a enterprise sort of, this business solution. Yes, Panda Express had come around at this point, which is doing extremely well. Whether you like their food or not, they are a massively successful company.
Yeah,
and they do a lot of good to the country. They give back crazy amounts of money and things like that.
Oh, that's great.
But anyway, we realized that, I had sort of this. I wouldn't even call it an epiphany, just a new realization why, Chinese food is synonymous with takeout. Back in the day, if you said the word delivery, it was pizza.
With the little boxes, right? Like the totally.
Exactly. You got the little pagoda pail, rice pail boxes and things like that. And so, and anytime you watch a movie or drama, they're always eating Chinese food out of those things, right?
I mean, totally.
Just a little quick history lesson. That pail, that box, that was invented in Chicago.
I love it. I love it. In Chinatown.
Yeah. It's an oyster pail.
That is hilarious. That is funny.
And so eventually we were like, why are we not doing what Domino's and Papa John's and Pizza Hut have done with pizza? Why is no one doing that with Chinese food? And so we did our research and we're like trying to figure out, why isn't anyone doing it? There must be something wrong with this process, except that we found out it's not because that there's anything wrong. It's just because there's not a lot of people who, one, know Chinese food that well, right? Because again, it's mostly immigrant mom and pops.
Yeah.
Right? And then two, it's just no one's trying to build a big business with the Chinese food industry. They're just getting by so that their kids can go off to college. Well,
yeah, you're saying like they're not trying to grow up past the one spot they have, right? They're not thinking about what, X growth and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying.
Now, Panda Express's story is a little bit different because a lot of their success started off with airports and like the super food, food stand, scoop and put on your plate. So their story is a little bit different. They took a different lane. And then for us, we were like, yeah, we cook fresh food. We package it and we do a ton of delivery with our Chinese food. But if we want this to become the Domino's of Chinese food, which was sort of our motto. It was like, hey, we need to become the Domino's of Chinese food, right? we realized that in order to do that, especially in this day and age, we needed really good technology and software. And that's when I reached out to Angel and I was like, hey, I have a stupid idea, but I need you to listen to me for a second. And then Angel was like, yeah, it's a pretty stupid idea, but let's do it. It's like, Chinese food, really? Of all things, Chinese food? And then we talked about numbers and cents and the software, and then things were just starting to come together. So, and that's when, things took off, and we built the software for 1.5 years before we opened our store.
Wow. Holy cow. Wow. I didn't know that. Okay. That's crazy. So y'all developed your own system for delivery, for the orders, ordering system with the customer, that whole interface, everything. Wow. That's amazing.
We're probably the only Chinese restaurant in the world who started with code first.
I love that. Yeah, this is a new story. I gotta say,
we literally wrote our entire code base ourselves. We're not dependent on Shopify or WordPress, WooCommerce, or any of those Squarespace. Because all of those are like e-commerce based systems designed to ship you a UPS or FedEx package.
Yeah.
Right. None of them actually addressed on-demand delivery. I guess technically Uber Eats and DoorDash are that e-commerce front for restaurants. But back in 2016, when we had this idea, it wasn't quite as popular, and there was no infrastructure around. So we looked around even more, and just couldn't find anything. So we were like, you know what? We're gonna have to build this ourselves. So,
by the way, just a quick insert. This is where Angel told me initially our budget for software was 30 grand. And when he couldn't find something over the counter, it turned into 300 grand. I was like, I remember very clearly.
We spent more than that.
Yeah, but long-term goal, structure of this and owning it all and not having to pay out some other 30% right to this other company, or 33%, whatever it's jumping up to now. That is that money essentially. Right. I mean, in the long-term goal, you're probably going to spend that on whatever fees.
Yeah. We're trying to be as vertically integrated as possible, which means your entire workflow, right? From collecting orders online to actually fulfilling orders all the way to the customer's doorstep. We are trying to own every piece of that so that we don't have to shell out commission and subscription fees to this and that. Most restaurateurs just don't have the technical skill to be able to manage a software team.
Of course not. That's not, you don't get into the restaurant business to manage a software team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. and then most software companies like DoorDash and Uber Eats, they don't deal with the food.
Exactly.
Obviously, they don't want to deal with that kind of nightmare.
Yeah.
So I guess in some ways we're dealing with 3 nightmares, right? Which is software platform, actually making food, and then delivering it.
It's
really three nightmares. And
that's a good point.
So it's a combination of luck and skill, experience of putting those 3 disciplines together. All into one seamless platform. So it's just, we own the whole step. And a lot of times we'll run into problems, but because we own the software, because we wrote the code, we just go and fix it.
Yeah, totally.
As 100%. Opposed to being imprisoned by your relationship with the POS system or your relationship with Uber Eats and DoorDash, which a lot of restaurants would admit it's somewhat toxic. And so
predatory.
Yeah, exactly.
Predatory is absolutely. I've done a whole podcast episode about them. Okay. For real. Yeah. I was in the business. I was there. I remember getting approached. I remember when it started to, when I first opened my food truck, it didn't even exist. And then I saw it come around. I saw everybody. And then you start to see these fees and you're like, what are you guys doing? What are y'all trying to
get us
do to
started on this.
people? Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, you're right. Don't get me started. My blood's already, boiling here. Yeah, absolutely. But I love, that you guys have all control, because it's like, just like you said, if you've got moving parts and you're relying on this or that interface isn't working for your customer and what you do, you can't change it. You're stuck with it. And everyone's stuck with the same thing, right? And as long as you make it familiar enough for the customer where it seems like the other ones as well, it's not going to be too different, right? They can jump on and still figure this out. This is not crazy, but you guys have total control. It's almost like an Apple ecosystem, if you will, right? Where like the new M1 chip, right? It works better because it all is connected.
Exactly.
I'm all about the Apple shit.
It's purpose built, right? Like you wouldn't contract out your sous chef.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go and ask a sous chef agency for sous chefs. And then like if you have a problem with your sous chef, you complain to the agency. No, you hire your own, and that person works for you, right? The person that sous chef it is part of the culture, and like it becomes a leader. And in similar ways, our code is our sous chef, right? They're part of our storefront, and so we see opportunities to make it better. We run into bugs and we fix them.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have those problems either way, right? You're going to have those nightmares. Either you're going to have a delivery nightmare, you're going to have, ordering nightmare, you're going to have food nightmare. Either way, those nightmares don't go away, but the more control you can have over the nightmares, the better, right? The better off you are. No, I love this. This is the future. Like I love thinking about this stuff. This is like the new way to run these businesses. Hope people get inspired, by this. Cause it definitely, how do y'all feel? Let's talk about this aspect of it. Cause we're talking about it from y'all's perspective and how it benefits the business and let's talk about how it benefits the customer. How does doing what y'all do benefit the customer more?
Well, I think number one, we live in a generation where we're glued to our cell phones, right? Everyone, they're spending 2, 3, 4 hours, 5 hours a day on their cell phone. And,
guilty right here.
And, it's just a part of the natural evolution of technology, interfacing into us as human beings. And, Amazon has become almost the exclusive place where we do our shopping now. Right. And now it's curbside pickup, which means you're using apps for HEB and Whole Foods and things like that. And so, it makes sense that apps and technology and phone and computers is our vessel to be able to order. People don't even order by phone anymore. Right. There's something fun about having the power at your fingertips to order shit, and be like, I want this and I want that, boom, that's mine, right? Yeah. There's something really rewarding about that. And, I like to think, we saw that coming. It wasn't even coming. It had already been present, right? By that point, Domino's they were under 10% online, and pre-COVID, when they changed their business model to be very tech forward, they went to 50% online very, very quickly, when it used to be almost all phone orders, right? Yeah. And now post-pandemic, they're 80% online now, right?
Wow.
And so it's like, again, it's going to be part of the evolution of what we do. Chinese food and technology is like oil and water. They were just way, way apart, but we were able to bring them together and relatively seamlessly. And we're still working on it. There are a lot of changes we're making. We're a little hindered by, speed and the amount of money it requires to hire engineers and things like that. But, we think we're on the right track. Now, customers have also, I like to think a big reason why, a big part of our success is because the ordering experience is super simple. Right. We knew that we had to simplify the process. We also knew that there are things that customers don't like, and that's being nickeled and dined, finding all these additional fees. So I don't know if you know this, Patrick, but We are feeless, so all of our deliveries are free 100% of the time. And also,
Wow.
we have a very strict no tipping policy. So not only like you literally cannot tip us, and you know, for whatever it's worth, our employees know, and you can find these in reviews all the time. People saying, "I tried really hard to tip so and so, but he wouldn't take it, or she wouldn't take it." And it's because, to be honest, if we find out that they took a cash tip, they're going to get fired. And so we reward them in many other ways. We pay very aggressively. Our minimum wage today is $13 an hour, but we're hoping to get to 15 real soon.
Wow, that's great. No, that is fantastic.
And they're using our cars. That's not like with them using their cars. They're using our vehicles and our gas and all this other stuff. So the whole customer experience, from ordering to eating to getting the food delivered to their door, or now we're doing it contactless, and then seeing the really good packaging we use, the quality of the food, and then knowing at the end of all this, all they did was pay what the price that they saw on the menu with no additional fees or tips. And we're doing right by our staff and employees. It's just like, it's a good experience. So
that's amazing. Wow, that's so great. I love that. I love that making the delivery the easiest, because that is something. I don't know if this has happened to y'all. I'm sure people listening or watching, this has happened, right? You've got something filled out that you're going to order. You spent fucking 20 minutes picking these dishes out, asking this person that. Okay, I got it. Then you go to see how much it's going to cost to get ordered. Fucking cancel that shit. Because all the fees all of a sudden they added in. You're like, God damn, this just doubled. I'm out. And I got a tip on top of it.
I do it every time.
Out. Yeah.
Every time.
Totally. It's like you just give up, and then you're like, fuck it. It makes it so horrible. And they do that because most people, you get to near the finish line, fuck it, I'm already here, I'm just going to order it. They just hit me with all this stuff that didn't say. Plus they got delivery fee, service fee, something fee, this fee, where, and then it's like, then you find out, wait, none of those fees even go to the restaurant, first of all, right? So then you're like, it just doesn't even add up to, right? It feels, like you said, predatory. It feels horrible. So I love the transparency of what y'all are doing and making it seamless and easy and simple, and because that makes you want to keep ordering from that place, right? It makes you, right?
For a very, very long time, it was a two-person relationship. Restaurants serve the customer. And now you've got this like third-party delivery system. Three's Company, man, like there's no room financially for a third person.
That's exactly right.
Third hand coming in and taking 30% from the restaurant, and it's roughly like 20% from the customer.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're not doing the real heavy lifting here.
They're not doing shit. They're not doing shit. They're not making the food. They're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's like what? Why do they deserve 50%? Right?
Yeah. What? It's like, why? Where are you guys coming from? We're making all the food. Wait a second. Wait. Let me get this straight. Y'all are just gonna walk in here, take all the work we did, R&D, putting this together. Flavors, whatever the hell we package it, you name it, and then you're just gonna take it to the person that looked for us, right? At the same, I mean, you're right. It's despicable, really. It's just like, Jesus. Okay, yeah. I'm so glad y'all are doing this. This is like awesome. Really. I mean it. I hope it inspires other owners and other people to get involved with it, because I know don't blame the owners, people. Most of them, they got an arm tied behind their back. They don't want to do it. They're sort of forced into it. There's just a handful of owners that you would talk to who would say, oh, I love Uber Eats, or I love DoorDash, or I love Grubhub. I mean, very few. I'm talking, if you get them alone and you really ask them, I've never met anybody, to be frank with you, who said, oh yeah, I love them. They're the best company and they're doing great things. I mean, I just literally have never heard that.
Who wants to give away, in context, 50% of your of your profits
For nothing.
the 30 plus the 20. Like
For
no one enjoys that.
Yep.
I think a lot of like, you know, pre-COVID, most restaurants were built on this idea that they're going to serve the customers in person. Right. And then the deliveries were like, yeah, you know, we do takeout here or there. We do deliveries here or there. It's like something like 10% of our sales or whatever. And so we can handle the 30% hit on commissions because it really doesn't even make up much of our revenue anyway. And let's just chalk it up to marketing costs. How about that? Right. Like these DoorDashes and Uber Eats are advertising our store name out there for free, AKA free. Yeah. And we'll just chalk that 30% up as just marketing. Yeah. Marketing break even. Bullshit. And then like fast forward to today and the in-person thing is much more difficult. And therefore they're all looking at, they're running a business that wasn't designed to be around delivery. Yeah. And that's why it's been really difficult for us. Call it luck. Call it, I don't know, luck. I mean, we decided to build the business around delivery. And so the reason why we don't necessarily have to build a fee in is because that's the business. Literally, the business is delivery. Yeah. And so there's no tack on fee. It's, the food is delivered to you for this price because we sat down and did a whole bunch of math on the unit economics of how much can we charge, what are our expenses, and, it's just basic business stuff, right? What if we just don't have servers? We don't spend the money on the real estate that's going to cost this much per square foot to sustain a walk-in business, and we'll save money there and then funnel those savings into basically delivering for free. Yeah. I mean, that's it. That's it. I mean, back in the day, remember you used to be able to order pizza and it was free delivery. They don't even do that anymore. Even pizza places charge for delivery. I mean, even if you order from Domino's or whoever, they're still going to charge you a delivery fee and this fee. It's still another $8 on top. And they kind of jumped on the Uber Eats game in a sense, because, but again, before they used to, that was a big thing, free delivery. I mean, 30 minutes or less. That's no joke. I mean, for those of us old enough, that actually used to be something real, but it was free delivery with pizza. I mean, that was pretty much, that was the model. I mean, right. That was built into it. So, I mean, hopefully people will go back to this somehow. Figure out a way to do. Have y'all heard of Runner City? That's what it's called. Runner City. Have y'all heard of that? What do y'all think of that concept? I'll tell you real quick. I do like it for the sense that they don't involve the restaurants. The restaurant makes 100% of whatever that person orders. And it's just not even, we don't even, you know what I mean? They don't even mess with it. And it's between the customer and them to sort of work out, that delivery system. So I'm curious what y'all think. I'm sure y'all don't need it, but I'm curious what you think about it for other businesses that can't do what y'all are doing.
I don't know
anybody.
I don't know a whole lot about Runner City, but I'm assuming it's kind of like a courier service, sort of this crowdsourced courier service, right?
Exactly.
So the idea itself is generally, it makes sense, but at the end of the day, I think, at least from our perspective, at the end of the day, what it does is it adds additional fees to the customer. Yes, it's providing a job avenue to the courier. And so we're working with the principle that, you can buy food affordably and get it delivered within a reasonable price. Now, it's not to say that the service itself is bad. I don't think it's got this predatory type, feeling like some of the third-party delivery services do. Oh, yeah. And yes, there's definitely a time and place for that. It especially probably works for restaurants who don't have the infrastructure to do what we do. They don't have the tech base. They don't have the time to even worry about, hey, is there a software bug or is the internet going to go down or whatever it is. Whereas with us, that was the base, that was the foundation. And so, in context for us, it probably wouldn't ever really work for us, but I certainly see it being much better than what's out there in the third-party delivery world. Trying to find out really the logistics on how to execute that last mile delivery and the on-demand delivery part is really the part that's difficult.
Sure.
Right? And so there aren't a lot of platforms out there now. I can tell you, maybe because of the COVID pandemic and stuff, there are a lot of companies who are trying to solve that. But part of the issue also is, Angel and I get hit up a lot by some friends and friends of friends who ask us, hey, we want to get in the restaurant industry and do what you guys are doing. How do we get your software? Can we license it? And one of the problems that at least in my opinion, and I say this insisting that you take a grain of salt with this, but delivery isn't really for every food, right? So
Great
there
point.
are really bready items. There are a lot of fried items that just don't travel very well.
Exactly.
And then you have to think about what kind of cuisines is it that people want to eat, every day or can potentially eat every day. And again, call it luck or whatever you want to call it. We are in the Chinese food world, which happens to be an extraordinarily popular food that's relatively untapped in this delivery business. I do think there are some other cuisines out there, but I remember it wasn't a long time ago, but a friend wanted to do seafood, in delivery. And I'm like, look, man, even if I told you exactly how to do this, I just wouldn't advise it because I don't think you're going to get the volume you need to support all of this. And it's not like software is free, right? It still costs money to run software, right? And then you've got teams behind it and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm extremely lucky as a Chinese food man that I have a software man in Angell Tsang, right? Who understands that, right? And so it's like, it's not like this was just poof, it just appeared. A lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of dedication, and a lot of risk went involved into doing this. And so, in general, to answer your question, I think there is definitely a useful function for that kind of service. We probably would never incorporate it because it really is. It defeats the purpose, which is we want to own the entire vertical and be in control. I don't actually want a non-employee to ever handle our food and to represent our brand.
Sure. I get that.
There's that thing where they say 1 in 4, that's 25% of every third-party delivery driver out there has grabbed a French fry, has grabbed a chicken.
I believe it.
Part of the customer's food.
I believe it.
And we just don't want to risk any of that,
Yeah. Yeah. You make a good point about them representing your brand. And that is true. That's the problem with it. You're handing off the representation and you're handing off the most important part, which is the handoff to the customer. The last, that last bit. And something they could have done now represents you, right? And if it's wrong, now you're looked bad upon. And right, the saying in restaurants is most people don't complain. They just don't come back. I mean, that's the truth. They don't, you never hear about the problem.
9 out of 10 times if the courier fucks up, who are they going to get mad at? They're going to get mad at the restaurant.
100%. Yeah.
Right.
100%.
So, and I haven't screened, I haven't vetted this courier. I don't know what he or she has done. He or she might smell like an ashtray. I don't know. I don't know any of them, right? So.
It's our only personal interaction as an online-only restaurant. It's our only personal interaction. So
yeah, good point.
It's super, super important. And then in addition to that, like because we own our own cars, and as a benefit to the employees, they don't have to pay for gas or maintenance, but as a benefit to the company, it is
you know that car's going to make it to the delivery.
It's a rolling billboard. Like
that too.
We're tracking the car. Like we know where the car is at all times.
Yeah.
Just from an asset management perspective, but like from a marketing perspective, you know how many customers tell us that like they said, I didn't know who you were, but I saw the car and I was like, what is that? I want some of that. And it's in the neighborhood all the time.
Sure.
So many people tell us they see your cars all over the city. And so those cars are doing a job for us as well.
Yeah.
And you just can't get that through third-party deliveries. I think Runner City has its place. It's a great hack.
It sprouted from COVID, right? And just a necessity for some places that weren't getting the right service and this and that. And, totally.
It's certainly better than paying 30% commission.
Yeah.
Certainly better. It's a great step in the direction. But again, like Min said, and what we've been saying, our business has been crafted to be vertically integrated. So our decision making around square footage was all based off of a singular idea of making delivery as efficient and affordable as possible.
Yeah.
And so, Runner City is a great tack on or a great way to help. But at the end of the day, your square footage was the business decision for your square footage was designed around how many people can you pack into your physical building.
Yeah, that's true.
At that point, like you're still paying the rent.
Sure. And
Runner City is not going to change your rent.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, those are great points. It's like you said, it's a stepping stone. It's probably never going to go further because of that reason, to be frank with you. It's just kind of there as a backup, as a this, because they also do other stuff. Hey, can you run to Target for me and grab me some toothpaste and a toothbrush? I whatever, lost mine. They'll run for you and right, you've set up this deal. I totally, that makes a lot of sense.
Patrick, can we, Angel was talking about our cars. Can we talk cars for a second?
Yeah, man.
You're getting the inside scoop. This is a news flash. We have yet to announce this publicly.
Woo! Here we go.
Happening right now.
I love it.
We are currently piloting a program where we're getting rid of gas combustion vehicle, ICE vehicles with Teslas. Yeah.
What? That is sick.
But I think it's important that we kind of talk and explain it, because I think the knee-jerk reaction would be, from customers like, what the fuck? They're buying Teslas to deliver our food. They better discount my food some more, right? That's going to be the knee-jerk reaction. And so it's like, but we need to explain that, and Angel's been really the person spearheading this move for us. We're both huge Tesla aficionados and obsessed with Tesla in general, but
love my Tesla stock. It's made me so much money recently.
Right.
You have no idea. I had the best Christmas.
Yeah, man. TSLA.
We're all into
Woo!
Uncle Elon.
Yeah, Uncle Elon.
Actually, funny story. We were just Angel was just communicating with our salesperson. We just purchased our second Tesla as part of the pilot program, literally today. And
that's awesome.
We were just joking around with the salesperson. And she said that she personally spoke with Elon Musk, who, moved here to Austin recently.
Yeah.
And he told her that he loves our crab rangoons. And so we were like, yeah, we need to trade crab rangoons for some Tesla Model 3s.
Dude, you know what? Can you imagine? He would share that your delivery service is all Teslas. Is he not going to market that? Is he not going to blow that up? I mean, and it's in Austin, and it's just no way. That's smart, man, guys. Woo!
We have a sort of a game plan. So we're piloting the program. We're going to get them wrapped and all that stuff. And then We're going to see if we can't hire Elon to do a delivery for us.
Oh my dude, that would be so sick.
Yeah.
I mean, that is so sick.
Min had a point, which was to dispel this like impression that we're wasting money.
Yeah.
So again, just like we did with starting the business, first we do some math, right? And the math is we're driving around 100 to 150 miles a day per vehicle. And we roughly have like eight vehicles per store. So like, we're spending a lot of money on fuel, on gasoline. Sure. And so we did the calculation and
oil changes, right?
All that stuff. Transmission fluid.
Yeah, transmission.
And and not only that, it costs us labor costs to go and fuel up. Like we don't literally have a gas station at our store. So it's something like 15-minute to 20-minute round trip to just go fill up the car. And we do that almost every day. So we've got a huge spreadsheet. It's like 20 tabs, doing all these calculations on our costs. And we pitted it against the Model 3, and we're going to save $3,000 annually per vehicle just on the fuel.
Give me a break, right?
And then not only that, the resale value of an electric vehicle is much higher. Than our Priuses and our Corollas that we're using today. And by the way, this is math put against hybrids, not just like a normal gas guzzler. These are 45 mile per gallon vehicles, so it's tough competition.
Wow. Sure.
But like electricity rates are 10 cents a kilowatt, so like it's still saving us tons and tons of money. So at the end of the day, we're not actually spending more. We're spending way less on the total operations using Model 3s.
But the benefit is it looks like you're spending more. That's even better. That's like, right. It just the production value, as we'd say in film, right? Like it just gives it way more production value at the same time. Plus people are like, oh damn, is that a Tesla? Oh shit, that's cool. I mean, that's just the first reaction people are going to have as well, that you're not going to get from, oh shit, is that a Prius? No one's ever said that, I don't think, in the history of cars, right? At least
what the drivers think too.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, oh, I get to cruise around in a Tesla.
100%. Come be a driver with us. You get to cruise. Exactly. You get to cruise around in a Tesla. I mean, absolutely. Plus your Instagram game, right? All that goes up, all that stuff. It really is a domino effect in a lot of ways. It's really smart. Look, let me say this, and for the people listening, for anyone thinking, oh gosh, they're going to get Teslas, they're spending money, they got money to burn, so they should lower their prices. Listen, y'all, think about everything they've said during this podcast. Think about it. They think about everything. Okay, I'm gonna rub y'all's backs here. Y'all are. This is what I love about y'all. Y'all are thinking about this stuff. You're taking the time, you're taking the effort, you care, you respect it. You want to invest in people that are thinking like y'all, right? You want to go eat and support at a place like this because they care, guys, that you're giving them money that they're going to invest well. Look at the money you spend at their place. Look what they do with it. Look what they turn around and do with that money. I think that's impressive. And I think that's something that a lot of business owners do not do, which is respect the money coming in. And that's, so for y'all, maybe having that issue, or if people are going to have, that issue on the front end, that's my response to them. Especially just from what I've heard from y'all, you guys care about this business. You're trying to grow it and stay in business, right? You can become a fan and not worry about, well, they'll be gone in 6 months. You can worry about investing in y'all and because of what y'all are thinking about and being on the cutting edge of things. To be frank with you, you're almost ahead of the curve a little bit every time, and making moves that you're going to see other people making years down the road, which is great. So
Yeah,
That's
we're
my
trying to
two
be
cents.
we're trying to be considerate.
Yeah.
We're trying to be, like
Joe's.
as we're trying to hustle, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what entrepreneurs do is we hustle, and putting together a crazy 20 tab spreadsheet to do calculations on vehicle expenses is our example of hustling.
I
There's
love it.
tons of non-quantitative benefits here, and I want to highlight the fact that in January 1st, we converted from like just a normal LLC into last year. We converted into a B Corp, a benefit corp, which is similar to a C Corp, except a B Corp, a benefit corp, allows us to put into our mission statement as a company of how we're going to benefit, society or the community, and that plays out in more compostable, sustainable sources of ingredients as well as our packaging.
That's awesome.
But the move from gas guzzler to electric vehicles is in the same vein. It's part of our mission statement, which is we want to reduce our carbon footprint.
Awesome.
So we care about that too. So there's so many pros.
Sure. There's no cons to this. There's really no, just from a customer perspective, you're thinking about, there's really no con. Yeah. Because when you start to name off all the benefits of what it does, just like you said, just for that reason alone, just a carbon footprint, just helping the environment, that reason alone is enough. And and it's not going to raise the price on my, chicken that it normally would or whatever, right? Like, that person's in, they're going to be invested in that. I love that.
We reached out to the city of Austin, the department that runs Austin Energy and the whole EV charging network with ChargePoint, and all of our power for electric vehicles will all be 100% wind powered. So
wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? All the wind powered? What do you mean? The cars are.
So the source of the energy.
Oh, that's charging them. Okay, sorry. I had a thought of like a windmill on the back of a fucking car, like.
Yeah.
It'd be like the new spoiler. It's like it's just got all these fans on it, look, but I do want to talk about something here real quick before we go. This is something that we hadn't even got into this, y'all, but I just think it's something so amazing that y'all are doing. Something that I've read online and something I've seen throughout the pandemic, and it's what y'all do, giving back. Okay, y'all do a lot of giving meals and giving back, and I do want to talk about that because I think it's important for people to know that y'all are doing that. I just think it's so fantastic. Again, there's a lot of people don't do that, and I think it is important that y'all are, giving back. And I read something that it was in November that y'all pledged to give $100,000 in meals, right, back to the city of Austin. Am I correct? I don't want to mispronounce anything here or misrepresent.
Yeah, pre-pandemic, again, as Angel mentioned, we converted to a B corporation, which means it's in our bylaws. We have an obligation legally to have a positive social impact, treat our employees well, treat our Mother Earth well, try to be as sustainable as possible and things like that. And all of this is because, again, I get to work with people like Angel and his wife, my wife, our general counsel and CFO, Richard, and his wife. And we all have, I don't mean to sound like an ass, but we really have this charitable mentality where we really like giving back. We're all at an age now where, it's not just about us, it's about the community. We got children and stuff like that, so we get it, right? We also knew that, when the pandemic hit, we were scared. We were really scared. Restaurants were being shut down. The virus was spreading like crazy. But we were extraordinarily fortunate that our business did better during the pandemic than it had pre-pandemic. And I think it reminded us why we're here and why we're doing the things that we do. And so we started what was a small campaign to help out fellow industry people who had lost jobs overnight when restaurants closed. It was just a small, tiny campaign just to feed them. That's all it was. But then, Austin being the way it is, they piggybacked on it, and they reached out to us and said they wanted to donate and help deliver food and all this other stuff. And then all this money started coming in, and we were like, oh shit, we didn't even think about raising funds or any of that. We're like, okay, well, now we have a bigger obligation. And so this snowballed. And so, we ended up feeding tens of thousands of people, and hundreds of thousands of dollars have gone out in food. We now partner with amazing organizations like the Central Texas Food Bank and various other organizations. And, it's not something we talk a lot about, but we're happy and we're proud that our employees and the ownership and leadership at Tso are all in on this, and they love this part about our business. And so, it's really important to us. And, it started here in Austin. I'm an Austinite, and I think it makes sense that you should support the community that is buying food from you, And so if we can help each other out, especially in these trying times, we have a moral and ethical obligation to do so. And that's how we feel.
Wow. It's amazing. It's awesome. My hat's off to you guys. Really, really. It's amazing. Well, that's awesome. Just that's how it should be. I love it. I just absolutely love it. Anyone listening to this is thinking the same thing. That's just so wonderful, man. Because you know who one of my favorite chefs is? Jose Andres. Do you know who he is?
Mm-hmm.
Love that guy. Not just because he's Spanish, not just because he makes amazing food and Michelin star. No, those are all great things. He gives back so much. It's unbelievable. Like he'll fly to some island right after a hurricane, and he's just feeding 100,000 people in pop-up tents, what do you say about somebody like that? Right. It's like, and here I am complaining because I got to go to HEB to get my own groceries. Right. Like it just perspective. Yeah. Perspective.
It puts it in perspective, like people complaining about authenticity.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like
exactly.
Is that the complaint? Is the complaint about authenticity when we're feeding people?
Yeah.
So it's a funny juxtaposition.
Sure. But you know what? The great thing about y'all is you know what? The next day's coming. Y'all got work to do. You don't have time for that nonsense, right? It's like these people saying this, that look, we got people to feed, we got things to do. We're moving. That will never go away, no matter what you did, by the way, right? Like think about the best Michelin star restaurant in the world still has haters, still has people not that good. Nah, they're not doing it right. So it does. I mean, it's just like you can't win. You can't please everybody. It's food. That's what makes it great. It's an art. So people are going to judge it in some way or another. You're always going to have people like that. But man, y'all just keep doing what you're doing. You really are not just making a difference in food. You're making a difference in just so many different areas of the industry for the customer's benefit. Like it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to y'all. Really, really, really mean that. And to know this stuff about y'all's business. And I'm really excited for people to listen to this podcast and get to know more about y'all and understand, where y'all are coming from and the future of what y'all hope to bring to people. And on top of all of everything we've said, you serve amazing food. It's like, it's just, what do you do? What do you do here? Y'all are firing on all cylinders here.
Well, thanks, Patrick. I can't say how much we appreciate, you sharing our story. That's all part of the journey too, is, sharing the story, being a part of the growth, and, you add another page into a chapter of this book that we were trying to write about how not only can we make a thriving, profitable business, but a business that does the right thing, does it the right way. When did that become, strange, right? And so, like,
you're so extreme. I don't know. That's extreme.
Yeah. So, we're having fun doing it. We work hard, but we love it. We do it with a lot of passion, and I'm mostly excited that the people that, work with us as a team, as a family at So, or for the most part anyway, they seem to enjoy working with us too. So yeah, we're gonna continue to rock and roll, man.
That's so awesome. Yeah, we'll be looking out for these Teslas, y'all. That's just exciting. I would not, makes me just want to order food just to see the Tesla roll up to my house, to be frank with you. Like, especially if, Al, you're probably gonna have to tell the drivers, listen, guys, none of this auto driving, right? None of those features. You might have to disable that shit, because I can see them. I don't. I've never actually even been in a Tesla, so I don't know how does that even feel, the auto feature? I've never even been in a car that's done it. I don't know how even far advanced the Teslas are. As far as that goes.
You can control the speed. You can disable the autopilot stuff. But I mean, like, we're not worried about that, because, like, if we have a driver that's got a problem,
you'll know it.
If we have a problem driver, then
Sure.
The problem is really with us, because we hired them.
Yeah. Wow. Look at you taking responsibility. That's how you do it. That's right.
I mean, that's where it starts, right?
I agree.
You hire the right people, you set the right culture, and then you trust people as adults to do their job. I mean, the reason why they're paid the way they're paid is because we don't have to use a tip to incentivize great service.
Sure.
They provide great service because they're great people, and we only hire great people. And those great people will be entrusted with our Teslas, just as they've been entrusted with our Toyota Priuses up until this point.
Hey, and they're entrusted with the food, getting the food to that person.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal. Well, is there anything we didn't mention real quick? Well, obviously, you guys will give your social media and website and all that stuff and how people can order and whatever, but anything real quick that I didn't mention that y'all wanted to quickly throw out?
We've got the two locations. 38th and I-35 is our Cherrywood location. We have the Arbor location at 183 in Mopac. Our expected opening for our South Congress and Old Torf is in April. Nice. And then we should have a Cedar Park location, I believe, in June or July.
Wow.
So,
wow. Yeah. Okay. Excellent. What about social media handles, website? Give us the lowdown here.
SoDelivery.com is where you place the order. We're on all the social media tags, So Delivery, typically at So Delivery. And send us a message. We respond to every email that comes in. And we have dedicated people that are, their specific role is to respond to customers and to provide service and support. So reach out to us with ideas, suggestions. We love it. Literally, we respond to everything. So reach out. Yeah. And awesome. Thank you, everyone, for continuing to support us and being a part of the journey as well.
Absolutely. Angel, any last words here? That sounded dark. I didn't mean it like that. That's
before you die.
Yeah, before you die. Yeah.
Keep it real, guys. And want to reach out to us. We're real human beings. We're not like a giant faceless company. We're Austinites, just like everyone else. And just come try our Chinese food.
Boom. That's it. There's nothing more to it. That's it. Come try the food. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Well, this has been amazing. Like I said, thank y'all so much for your time today. We'll send out an email when this goes out. It'll probably could come out next week. That is possible, but more than likely it will be the week just right after that.
Where do you live?
I live in Austin and South Austin off of South Congress and Ben White, basically. That's basically where I am. I'm at Battle Bend Park.
You'll be just down the street from the new location then.
I'm moving though. I'm moving to Dallas actually in February. I'm taking the studio. We're taking the studio up to Dallas.
Oh, nice. So that's our next market is Dallas. So
well, I will be there. There is no question about that. The podcast is all Texas, right? So we got to start promoting some other stuff. In fact, I haven't even mentioned that on the podcast. You guys, y'all got me to just release some new information that has not been said yet. So yes, that is happening. We're moving the podcast to Dallas. I'm sure I'll go more into on a separate intro of that, but there's that's some new information.
I have one last question for you, and then I can call it quits for myself.
Yeah, of course.
What's your favorite Chinese dish?
Ooh, I love this dish. I don't know if it's called this anywhere else, but I used to go to this place in Dallas, actually, called Empress of China. They've been around for like 25 years. We know the family. I always got this dish called Princess Beef. It was like Mongolian beef fish, but a little sweeter.
Sounds like we're going to have to look that up and make it a monthly special.
It was I literally got that every day for 10 years. Not every day, but every time I went there for 10. I mean, I didn't change. I got egg drop soup, that fried rice. That's my dish. I like beef and veggie when it comes to Chinese food and fried rice. Those are my jams.
I found it here. Princess beef is a very similar dish to Mongolian beef. Depending on where you came from, they called it different things.
Okay, right on. Bam. I didn't know. I'm glad you looked that up. I've had all this time. I could have Googled that. I never did that. That's my dish. That's still my go-to dish. Love that dish.
We did our research and we started looking at different cities and we're like, where should we expand to next? And apparently the data shows that Dallas is one of the most obsessive cities over Chinese food, Chinese American food.
I believe that. 100%. They're everywhere. They actually have a lot of Asian food in Dallas, Las Colinas, if you will. There's a lot of Vietnamese and Korean food. I've been to some of the best, and not to use the word authentic inauthentically, but these are like real authentic places, that my Korean friends will take me to. It's like, Patrick, they don't speak English. Okay, this is where we're going. We're going to have the best time. There's order a bunch of food and beer. And then, I don't remember who I am the next day, but the food is delicious. There's so many options. There's so much food. I believe that makes a lot of sense. Cause a big metroplex too, right? You've got the surrounding stuff. And everything in between, Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's awesome, guys. I can't wait for y'all to come to Dallas. That is for sure. But look, I come to Austin all the time. So especially for work, that's still going to happen. So, definitely gonna. And before I go, man, I'm gonna have to order some food. That's just gonna happen this weekend. We're gonna get some food. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Let you guys get back to it. I know you guys got a lot of stuff to do. So again, thank y'all so much for your time. If you ever need anything, please feel free to reach out anytime. So no worries there. And again, thank y'all so much for your time. My best to y'all's families, and just be safe during this time, and to y'all's staff as well. I hope wish them the best.
Thanks a lot. Thanks, Patrick.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night, okay? Get some rest.
All right, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Lone Star Plate podcast is produced by Texas Real Food. Go to texasrealfood.com and you can search your city for stores, butchers, restaurants, farmers markets, and more who are using fresh, artisanal, organic sources. It's a fun site that brings all natural options all together. I hope you enjoyed this episode. For more information, go to thelonestarplate.com. I'm your host, Patrick Scott Armstrong. Until next time.